Welcome back to Bio News Network. This is Volume 3, Chapter 3 of our Perfect English Grammar series, and we're continuing to progress throughout our list of over 500 words. 500 of the most common words that we anticipate based on review of previous TOEFL and SAT exams that we anticipate that we'll actually see. If you recall from our previous episode, chapter, we were actually looking at the recall keyword sheets, and here are just a few of the words that we're going over, ranging from cosmopolitan to vanguard, austere to semantic, affectation, all the way to tyro. And if you recall that these were keywords from the sample sentences, so we're actually going to be going over 12 new words here, and you'll actually see that we're going to be adding to our vocabulary and expanding our vocabulary and improving our perfect English grammar as we try to nail down or iron down and narrow down to the 500 or 600 words that we anticipate that will be most common, along with their synonyms. Here we have our word cloud storage memory system that we've been using to kind of store away the definition of these words. And we can see here we're starting with apparent, and then we're abridge, convergent, convoke. Also, we're going to be working with Convergent, duplicity, lassitude, opaque, precarious, provigilant. Sorry, that is going to be provigial, provid, pro, provincial. I'm sorry, repose and synoptic. So if we do the pronunciation again for that, provincial, provincial. So we'll have to practice on that provincial. I'm not quite sure why it's giving me a tongue twister this time, because we've actually looked at several words with very similar word structure, but that's okay. It's all part of the growing process. So if we see aberrant, the synonym is deviant. And the reason that we're having someone picture from the mall is because of the sample sentence. Abhorrent. Visitors of the mall were in disbelief by the child's abhorrent behavior outside a toy store. So we used in this chapter, we're actually using the picture of a mall goer or someone in the mall shopping to associate aberrant behavior of a child who is spoiled in front of a toy store. So aberrant has to do with deviant behavior or abhorrent, and we're using the picture-to-word imagery of someone in a mall. Then we have average, which is the second word in our blue group for the HEM group. If you recall from previous episodes, with our word cloud storage, we're actually assigning words to different storage bins along the human body to help you increase your memory recall of the words. And then we're also we're also including the words in clouds, in different color clouds, which we have actually found to be able to sharpen our memory. But actually, we're seeing some really good success, of course, with our vocabulary recall cheat sheets that have to do with using keywords from each sample sentence. So that's why we're very big on using the sample sentences this time. For average, which means condense, the prime minister's campaign was abridged when he learned that his wife suffered a massive stroke. So we see there abridge or truncate or condense. There we see the picture of the Golden Bridge, but we didn't actually put the full image of the bridge. So we only to imply that it was truncated or shortened for whatever reason. So there we have average, which means truncate. The next word in our the next word in our blue group is conversant, which means highly knowledgeable or experienced. And let's see how it's actually used in a sentence. Um, For a freshman in college, he was convergent in vibrational mechanics subject matter projected on one's curriculum for their senior year. So that basically the sample sentence is implying that he was ahead of his curriculum based on the curriculum. So he was pretty knowledgeable in a subject matter that hadn't been covered yet. We have there the blue group, which is adherent, average, and convergent. As far as the convoke, which is in the orange group, it means invoke. We do see the image of people in a meeting. So invoke or convoke has to do with convene. Let's see how it's actually used in a sentence. Convoke. The Queen convoked a meeting with Prince Charles to discuss the social media backlash. Verb meaning convene, convoke. So you may see on the exam either the actual word itself or a synonym, invoke, and then you'll associate it with the word definition, which means convene or to have a meeting. And then we have the next word that is going to be our convergent, which is a grouch, a difficult person. We use the famous face of Groucho to associate with the word convergent. And let's see how it's actually used in a sentence here. For the new director of admission started to receive many complaints as a curmudgeonly manager. So there it is as being used as an adjective, but it can be also as a noun, a difficult person. So there we have it for our orange group. We're going to be rounding out our orange group of words. Duplicity. We have the two faces which are commonly used in drama of happy and sad. In this case, duplicity means disingenuous, and we can see here it has to do with being deceitful. Let's actually see how it's actually used in a sentence. The level of double dealing and corruption in the firm was outstanding, evidenced by the CEO's duplicity for openly promoting the public school system and advocating secretly for private school vouchers to friends and investors. So it's a double-sided sword, double dealing, noun meaning disingenuous. Disingenuous. So that would be our blue and orange group. Let's just quickly go back and refresh. Adherent, the mall, average, the bridge, convergent, conversant, experienced. You see an elderly gentleman smoking. Convoke, invoke, convene. Curmudgeon, a grouch, difficult person, and duplicity, deceit or disingenuous. So let's see if we do this test where we block off the left side, and we can find association, deviant, aberrant, truncate, and that would be average, experienced, highly knowledgeable, conversant, invoke, and that would be convoke, grouch would be curmudgeon, and then deceitful will be duplicity. And then you can actually cover the right with your hand and try to remember the synonym. So aberrant is deviant, average would be truncate, conversant would be experienced, convoke, invoke, curmudgeon, grouch, duplicity, deceit. So if you have any trouble with any of the words there, whether it be the blue group or the blue clouds or the orange clouds, simply just use your left hand to cover up one side, try to recall, and then firmly associate the synonym with the word. And in the right hand, you can actually use to cover up, and you'll see the definition, but then you'll try to make the match between the actual synonym and the word. So now we have lassitude, weary, tired, and we see a person yawning in the picture there. Let's see how it's actually used. On our road trip from San Diego to Dallas, he tried hard to shake off his lassitude by taking caffeine tablets caffeine tablets are for alertness. So that would be lassitude. And so we see here lassitude is a picture association with fatigue, awareness. And then in the red group, the AWH group, arm, wrist, hand, opaque. And we see a picture of a girl behind the door. You can't see the rest of her body, so the picture is implying that the door is opaque, not clear. So if the door was actually made of plexiglass, then that would be transparent. Opaque and dark. Let's see how it's actually used in a sentence. Many fishermen fight with vision problems resulting from water reflectivity, so they wear polarized sunglasses. Adjective meaning not clear. And then our next word in our red group is precarious, and that would be insecure. We do have the image of 401k there, unstable, and here is why. In the sample sentence, this will be a great way for you to remember the word precarious. His employment was in a very precarious position. He increased his 401k payout distribution to prepare for the worst case scenario, as if he lost his job due to a layoff. So here we have a really good way to remember precarious, meaning it's unstable. And now it's in the hand storage bin, so that is even another more powerful association for you to remember the word precarious, because a lot of times when we are in precarious situations, our hands tend to tremble from nervousness. So precarious, insecure is a synonym, 401k picture to word association, and unstable as an adjective. So that rounds out the red group. Let's see if you can remember the associations. Lassitude was a fellow with a wary, and then opaque was the little girl behind the door, and precarious was a 401k. And then if we do the left cover up, wary has to do with lassitude, dark, opaque, and insecure, precarious. So the red group should be firmly in your memory. The associations were a little bit more difficult to firmly ingrain, especially for the orange group. So you can quickly go back to the orange group: grouch, convergent, deceit, and that would be duplicity, and convoke, invoke. So if you have any issues with convergent or duplicity, then just keep going back and forth between left and right until you make the firm associations between the cloud group and the synonym group and its respective word to picture to word association. And then we have provincial, and we see there the picture association of find a job, fortunate, lucky. Let's see how it's actually used in a sentence. Provincial. Ram was excited about his new job and viewed his fortune as one of Ganesh's provincial blessings. And adjective meaning lucky. Provincial blessings. So there we have it for the first one in the cloud group, and you could make an association of that word to the knee storage bin, being that a lot of times we're on our knees praying for what we need in life. So the knee association to fortune, finding a job, and lucky, that will be a good way to remember the word provincial, as far as finding a job, fortune, lucky. Repose, rest or peacefulness. In this case, it has to do with actual death. When Peter died, his co-workers attended his wake and found comfort in his apparent tranquility as he lay in repose. Noun meaning peacefulness. So in this case, it has to do with restful appearance as a result of passing away. We do have the association, a picture of someone being awake as far as being restful, We did do that association so that you can see the contrast between rest and wakefulness, and being awake as far as the wake of the funeral. So that would be a little bit of practice as far as uh, rest, and wake, and peacefulness. Let's see, synoptic, synoptic. Let's see, it's digest or summary. Let's see how it's actually word used in a sentence. After the group interviews were held for the college director job, the HR reps compiled synoptic notes for each job candidate, adjective meaning summary. So there we have our four groups: blue, orange, red, and gray, and their respective synonyms. And we did go over the sample sentences. Just want to touch base on the importance of creating your own vocabulary recall cheat sheet. Now that you have 12 new words and we've gone over the sample sentences, it would be a good way to actually to set up your vocabulary recall cheat sheet so that you can actually fill in each box, and then you use two keywords, and you can actually go down, up and down 1 through 12, looking at the two keywords to recall the context in which the word was actually used in a sample sentence. And this would be a good way to firmly implant the memory of each vocabulary word, because as we always stress in previous episodes, your brain is going to remember and recall the story of the word. So that's why using sample sentences is very important, especially for reading comprehension and fine-tuning your listening skills when it comes to increasing your ability to fine-tune your grammar skills. Sample sentences are very important, as well as passages, because that is what you're actually going to be faced on with the exam. With respect to our word cloud storage memory system for this chapter, it's good for you to actually just make sure that you go over each picture to word association, simply staring at the photo until you recall the entire string. If we stared at the mall door, we see it's adherent, which has to do with deviant because of behavior, and adjective meaning abnormal. We look at the bridge, we see that the photo is technically cut in half. We don't see the full bridge, so we see truncate and we see abridge. And then we see conversant, experienced for the older gentleman, and highly knowledgeable. So that would be a really good way for you to really store the memory of the word that's associated. And of course you see the synonym next to it, which is also very, very close to the picture itself. And then you should be able to map it directly to the word itself. A lot of times you'll actually remember the color of the cloud that the word is actually in. So that's why we have 4 different colors. So as you go through these lessons, a lot of times you may see the word in a reading passage, and you know that you've actually seen this word before, and before you actually reach for your thesaurus, then or a dictionary, then you'll actually possibly see a flash of the word cloud, and then you might see another cue, which might be the vocabulary word. You may see the word in the rectangle with its 2 keywords, and once you actually see those 2 keywords in your mind, then it will just completely trigger a complete map actually back to your recall, where you will see the synonym, most likely see the picture to word association that was used. And so if we look here, I can actually see that we can actually see that quite a few of these words, how they were actually used. Recalling the sentences, I remember reactant. There was a picture of a flask that had to do a laboratory flask that had to do with a mixing of ammonia and bleach into chloramine, and that was the subject matter of the sentence. So your brain is as you practice your recall, your brain is always going to be focusing on the story of the word. It's going to want to recall the full story of the word, and that will bring you back to any associations you have to the picture to word, or the synonym, or even the actual word definition itself, or even the color of the cloud. Okay, so we're going to be increasing comprehension, looking at other aspects to memory recall of the words as we go further and further. Keep in mind we're now firmly in volume 3, and this is chapter 3. So we do have 2 full volumes completed, and that is, in each chapter, there are 10 chapters in each volume, covering 12 words. So it would be a good idea for you to actually go back, and in each of the video description boxes, we put the links to the previous chapters so that you can quickly go back and recall the words. A lot of times you'll see these words on the exams, and you know that you've actually covered them in either some kind of test prep similar to this. So it will always be good for you to quickly just go back to the videos, and you can quickly jot down or make a quick reference set of index cards for yourself, so that you can quickly shuffle through them whenever you have free time, so that you can firmly ingrain them. One method that we've seen with some students is actually to use index cards to make vocabulary recall sheets, where you actually place the word in the rectangular, similar to the ones that we have here, and with the keywords that you will remember from the sentence that will trigger your memory, and also trigger the synonym, picture to word association, and so forth. So there are a lot of different ways that you can apply these techniques to increase your memory of the vocabulary. So this is volume 3, chapter 3. Please make sure you smash the notification bell for our next chapter release. We're going to explore 12 new exciting words, ingrain them in your vocabulary so that you can stretch and fine-tune your grammar skills as we get closer and closer to that group of 500 to 600 most common words that may appear on a TOEFL SAT and beyond. We'll continue to be working on these words so that you can just continue to increase your ability as far as English grammar skills and vocabulary. Well, thanks for tuning in to BioNews Network for another chapter of Perfect English Grammar. This is Volume 3, Chapter 3, and we appreciate you tuning in, and have a great day.